Hello there, y'all. How you doing tonight? It is your girl, Sean LeRae, with Boss Talk. Welcome back and happy Wednesday. Happy post-Valentine's Day. I hope that you had a wonderful, loving, kind, fun, friendly, heartfelt Valentine's Day. Um, for me, as you must know, it was bittersweet, but I'm going to fix this a little bit. I like it better right there. There, now you can see my whole head. So I am so grateful because I had a friend who came by my office. Shout out to Tracy Terrace. And she brought me some roses. So it was a beautiful gesture, and I'm so grateful. Valentine's Day, as you must know, is a little bit hard now that my Valentine went to live with God in heaven, but I am getting through it every day, every day, every day, better and better every day. So, so if you're out there, put something in the chat, letting me know what you did for Valentine's Day. How was your Valentine's Day? I was listening to a podcast last night. It was Dr. Anita Phillips, and the podcast is called In the Light. And I love that podcast. And she had a guest on talking about Christian singlehood. And it was really interesting. And if you get a chance, check it out because I'm sort of representing in that realm for the first time in a long time after being married for so many years, and it feels very weird and very strange and not jury's still out on whether I like it or not. I don't like it, of course, because I miss my honey, but just a very different kind of feeling to experience it again after being married for so many years. And so I started to think about what it must be like, or what it was even like for me when I was single so many years ago on Valentine's Day, and what that felt like. And then for Christian women in particular, how that feels as you're waiting for God to send you your prince or your king, actually, and what that looks like emotionally and spiritually for single women. So, yeah, so check out that podcast. It's a really good one. The woman who was speaking was a minister, and her name is Yanni. I don't remember the rest of her name, but it was really a good show. So, also, if you're out there, tell me, because I always want to check in and see how you're doing. Entrepreneurs out there, big bosses, how are you doing taking care of yourself as you manage a business, your family, C-suite job opportunities and job commitments? And what are you doing on the regular basis that takes care of you and your wellness and your emotional and spiritual health? Because those are all important things. And sometimes we can get in the middle of doing all the things we do, and we forget to honor that part of ourselves. So I just want to make sure that you're doing that out there. It's really easy to get so busy that we forget us, and then to also make excuses when we are not taking care of ourselves, and even get defensive, because I know I have. Whenever people tell me, girl, you need to rest, you need to whatever, I get an attitude. So if you're out there and you have told me that before and I've gotten an attitude, please forgive me. I'm working on myself. I'm a work in progress. But, we do that because we know it's the truth. And the truth is sometimes hard to swallow, even when it comes to our wellness and our health. So taking care of yourself is key. I hope that you are doing that out there. So I am really excited. As you well know, I have called this February Love Month, and all of my guests have been couples who have come on to share how they manage to maintain their married lives, and in the midst of everything else that they have to take care of. So my first guests were the marriage CEOs, and that was Richard and Dr. Nefertina Serrano, and they shared with us how they manage their marriage and their business because they work together in business as the marriage CEOs. And so, shout out to y'all out there. Thank you for coming on. And they dropped some really great messages to us. And if you were here, type something that you got from them in the chat. They talked about how they met and how it's important to take time to be together and make sure that you give the amount of time to the relationship that you give to everything else. And then we also had last week, we had Eric and Dr. Sakisha Heilig. Shout out to y'all over there in Florida. And they talked about how to make marriage win, but also they talked about how to become a billionaire couple. And so they actually help couples reach the 7-figure mark. So they work a lot with entrepreneurs and all of that. But they also talked about some of the same thing. It seems to be an important theme, is that is making sure that you take the time to nurture the relationship and to honor the relationship, right? And so I think that's something that we can all take part in and take a page from that book, but also remember what I just talked about, taking care of ourselves individually. So when you're in a couple, it's important that you take care of yourself individually so that you can be your best self for your partner. And I think that's a key element to a relationship, because if you're out there spending all of your time giving everything to the outside world, and when you come home, you have nothing left to give, that's not for a great relationship make. That does not for a great relationship make. So I think it's important to learn balance. And that's one of the things that Dr. Sakisha and Eric talked about, was creating balance in their relationship. So I'm excited tonight because the couple that I am having on tonight are near and dear to my heart. They were one of our best friend couples for William and I, and they're very special people. They're like our besties. So, and they have a marriage that has shows up as longevity and mutual respect and all those things that are very important and key elements to having a great relationship. So I want to tell you a little bit about these folks. So first, I'll tell you about him. And the king of the household is John Steinreich. We call him Johnny D. And he's has a master's in theology. He's a Bible teacher and a gospel preacher. He's the author of A Great Cloud of Witnesses, Lessons for Modern Day Christians from Church History. And you can get that book at lulu.com. And so I'm going to definitely put that link in the chat. And he is also the host of God and Government. It's a podcast that you can find on Anchor, Google Cast, and Spotify platforms. And he has recently started his 5-minute ministry, and you can find that on YouTube, and we'll get the link for that as well. And then his queen, and I do mean literally his queen, is my dear friend, Chantel Deniese. And Chantel Deniese is an entrepreneur, vocalist, and certified professional life coach who is passionate about empowering and elevating women toward personal and spiritual growth. With over 15 years of experience facilitating women's groups, mentoring moms, and managing creatives, she has become a woman of worth advocate. Ooh, I love the sound of that. Her background also includes working with in the corporate world in management, advertising, and developing creative programs for the YMCA, for their youth department. Chantel's expertise has gained her the ability to work with women from all walks of life. She's well-rounded and relationally solid. She loves being a wife, mother of 2, and a daughter to her amazing family. She enjoys fitness, listening to music, taking pictures, which we do together a lot, playing game night, teaching empowerment classes, Bible studies, writing, and being creative. Recently, Chantel Deniese was crowned as the new Mrs. Elite U.S. Woman of Achievement, for which she is excited and humbly grateful to step into this new role. As a faith driven woman, she believes that no girl or woman should ever feel left behind, and this is why she is committed to helping them live the life they were born for. So, Boss Talkers, without another word from me, please welcome to Boss Talk, John and Chantel Deniese Steinreich.
Hey,
Hey, hey, y'all.
hey.
It's good to
Hey,
see you.
everybody.
Hey.
I love it. So, you two busy people are in two different places tonight, huh?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you for tuning in wherever you are. So, Shani, I recognize that background, that beautiful blue wall. So I know that you're home. John, where are you tonight?
I am in the lobby of my office building.
Oh my goodness, bless your heart. You couldn't make it
Yes,
home, huh?
not quite. I had to finish work, and it would be a little bit too far to get that quickly.
Well, only because of California traffic, right?
Yeah, in part, yeah.
For sure, for sure. Well, welcome back because you both have been guests on Boss Talk in the past. Chantel, you were on not long ago, right after you won the pageant. Congrats again.
Yes.
That was an amazing evening, and I remember, John, how excited you were. It was a treat to watch you watch her.
That was it. Was that you heard what I said when she got announced? That's a big deal.
It's a big deal. It was so sweet. I loved
Yeah.
it. I loved it. And you were on in December to help
Hmm.
me honor my Williams birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you for that. That was great. Well, so tonight we are going to talk about y'all.
Okay.
Hey, y'all buckle
So
y'all seatbelts.
we about to take a ride, huh?
Yep.
Well,
Come
listen,
along on a ride on a fantastic voyage.
yes, that one. I always appreciate the real and raw way that you guys talk about your marriage and how you're so honest and upfront, and yet you make it look so easy and beautiful all at the same time. And so I appreciate that because I think that more couples need to know that you can go through stuff and come out on the other end, because I think that D word, the divorce rate being so high, I know that it doesn't have to be that way. And so I love that you guys talk about the struggles as well as the good times, because I think that people really need to hear that.
I do too, Ray. It's so important because I think that life has challenges. Life is, I mean, just waking up, breathing, and walking. There's a challenge. You can walk out
Absolutely.
of your house. You're a groovy day. You're like all pumped up, like I'm ready to take on the world. You can walk
Right.
outside of your house, and something can take place that just changes up your whole game.
Yep.
Absolutely. It's so true. I was listening to the news just today and they were talking about how road rage is at an all-time high.
It's huge.
And it's ridiculous. And we've gone through, of course, a pandemic and all of that. And the numbers have gone up since 2019. So that's to say that possibly some of that has come from, the residuals of the pandemic. But
Mhm.
it's like, people, we have to get through these things, and the best way to do it is to be kind to one another, not to,
Mm.
want to run one another over and off the road and all of that. It's crazy
No.
out there. It really is.
It is. It's real crazy.
So what are some of the well, first, wait, let me back it up because I always like to know how my couples met and what that was like. So do tell, do tell.
This is the famous story for our life. um, well, I knew Chantel through a friend of mine who's my roommate. They were buddies, and so I'd seen her around church circles and so forth. And we were at I think it was the Bonaventure Hotel
Yeah.
downtown LA, and it's one of those church mixers. This was in the days before cell phones, right? You couldn't just grab somebody's number or airdrop it or whatnot. You actually had to go up and meet and greet people, and if you wanted to talk to somebody, you had to get a piece of paper, right, and write down their home phone number.
Right.
So here I am, Mr. Not So Smooth, walking around, and, trying to meet and greet, and I see her there in this, in this basement room with all these people, and I thought, like, I said the dumbest thing ever, which was, I can't believe a girl like you is still coming to events like this. And it didn't come out the way I meant it. What I meant was like, you're really too, hot. You're too hot of a chick to have to come to these kind of events. It's only for, people like me that, but it didn't come out like that. So Shani, can you finish the story?
So then me, because I'm quick-witted. I said, when he said that, because first of all, I thought it was the lamest line you could ever give to someone. And I was at that retreat, just at that singles event out of encouragement, because I was I'm good. I can roll like I roll. I don't have to have anybody else in my space. I was good. And so when he came up to me and said that lame line, I just turned back and I said, that's because a guy like you haven't asked me out. Like, I'm still going to these things because a guy like you haven't asked me out.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
It was so quick. He started fumbling, trying to find a pen.
Yes, right? I did. Yep.
How funny.
It was so funny. And
So,
the rest is history.
Yeah.
So tell me about the first date.
Oh my God.
It was miniature golfing, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yes. It was one of, I would say, my unlikable dates. Because it was a date with a group of people. And sometimes when you're on dates with a group of people, you don't really get to know each other because everybody's talking, right? So I'm not a golfer. Wasn't interested in miniature golfing. I don't know whose idea it was to do that kind of date for the first date, but we went along with it, and so we're in the line waiting for our turn to golf, and I just thought it was boring, and I was like, if this is going to be the nature of how another day would look like, I'll pass, basically, And I went home. I was glad to get home, actually. It was not something that I thought was fun. If you'd have took me roller skating, I would have been like, woo! Because, I felt like, I don't know, back then we were not really asking each other what we'd like to do. It was like we were just doing stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody asked me what I would like to do to go out, and I didn't ask you either.
Yes, that's hilarious. So okay, so did it get better? I mean, clearly it did, but did it take a minute, or what was the date that you can remember that it was a memorable one for you?
Well, I know.
You want to go for that, babe?
Yeah. Well, in spite of the fact that it wasn't the coolest first date in the world, she actually continued to take my phone calls. And then it was I don't know, but it wasn't that much longer, but I arranged for us to go to the theater and see Beauty and the Beast when it was Century City, I think it was. So I guess it had been on Broadway, so it must have been the touring cast of Beauty and the Beast, and that was a big deal. We got all dressed up and made a big to do about it, and it turns out, we both really like theater, and so I think that was a precursor to what would happen later on in our life. But that was a really special night because it was something that I made a big deal. I really paid a lot of attention, and we did something together that was really, really enjoyable, out of the ordinary, and very, so, it's a romance story anyway, Beauty and the Beast. So it was a great night. Yeah.
It was, before that, though, I would like to add, babe, that one of the things that before that was that we ended up playing at someone's wedding. You remember that? That's kind of what sparked, like, That was before.
Yes, that was,
Yeah,
yeah, okay,
before that
yes.
Lion King date, because
Did
I
I
mean,
play on the wedding? I thought you just sang there.
I sang and you played.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I re-
you played on that wedding.
So
Yeah,
you
okay.
guys started making beautiful music together. I love
yeah.
it.
So it was like, that's when it was like, okay, this guy's okay. He's kind of cool because he played music and I like singing. I'm like, okay, he's kind of cool. So that kind of opened the door for the
Mm,
Beauty and the Beast date because
Ah,
I was already kind of like, okay, I can hang out with
mm,
him. This kind of, this is fun. Yeah. So that Beauty and the Beast date was just like, it
mm.
was killer. And I remember saying to my roommate, I said, if this guy takes me to one of my favorite restaurants, that I know this is something. And he actually did.
oh,
Did
The restaurant we like downtown that's closed, Cha Cha
cha
Cha.
cha cha.
It's closed now. But
oh,
Yeah.
yeah, we that was our spot. And we
wow.
went there several times afterwards too.
So what would you say was so that for you, Chantel, was like, okay, this is a real thing here. This can be something. John, when did you think it could be something? From the minute you
Wow.
laid eyes on her?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I mean, yes, you're right. Maybe not the exact moment, but I knew that she was special and she was different. I had seen her in church, back in the day when we were, both of us in the church were in very active ministry, right? And she was on stage, um, and she was just sort of preaching. Actually, it was a midweek service, and they had given her an opportunity to get up and speak. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I was just like, "Wow, she is on fire." I mean, she looks great. She
Mhm.
looks awesome, and she's very spiritual, and she's really sold out for God. I'm like, this. That's just mind-boggling.
I love that. So you had a real spiritual connection and affinity for
Mm-hmm.
her right at the very beginning.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, this is good. Let's keep it going. So, all right. So you guys decide that you want to continue to date. How long before you actually got married?
We dated for the total was about 14 months. The
Okay.
entire process was 14 months because he proposed like after 9 months. We
Okay.
dated and then
Okay.
he proposed after 9 months. And we were a little bit more mature. So we were like, there's no reason for dating 5 years.
Right.
There's no reason to date for 5 years. And, God bless people who do that. It works for them. I knew once I started dating John that he was the one. He wasn't like an option. It wasn't date you and let me figure you out. Like, I think at that point when we started going steady, it was before I said yes to the going steady, I was already sold out to this guy is the one. I'm not going to play around with this man. I'm not going to hang out with this man. He's not going to be hanging out with me. We're not doing that. I knew what I wanted because before him, I hadn't really dated for like 4 years.
Uh-huh.
So I had really worked on me. So I was actually ready for a relationship.
Yeah. Now, listen, before I go any further, I want you to speak about that because I think a lot of times we want a relationship and that's all we can think about. We're just, oh, I want to be in a relationship, or oh, when am I going to date, or when am I going to get married, and all those kinds of things. And then we forget about ourselves, about taking care. And I was talking about that before the show, taking care of ourselves individually, but even like getting ourselves together. Because when we
Yeah.
come, sometimes we're not ready to be dating. We ain't got nothing for nobody else. We need to kind of figure some stuff out. So I love that you said that you took the time to you were ready. You knew that. How did you get ready? Oh, and let's say hello, somebody special to
Let's
all of
say,
us.
Mama.
Hello, Miss Mama Marie. How are you, darling? Coming on all the way from Texas. Again. And my soror Terry says, hello, as seasoned people, we've already figured it out and what we want. Amen.
Yep,
Absolutely, soror.
I agree,
You
Terry.
lots of love tonight. So, okay, Shani, well, tell us about that.
So, for me, I had dated quite a bit. Like, before I decided I'm going to build a relationship with the Lord, and that is going to be my priority. That's going to be, what I focus on. So, my focus was there. My focus was really understanding God, understanding Jesus, getting to know him, because I had heard of Jesus, I had heard of God, but I did not know them. And
Mm,
so when I finally started getting connected with the Holy Spirit and Elohim, and just really, I was there. That was my world. And so I knew that there were things that God had spoken to me about that I needed to work on for me.
uh, I
And so
agree.
I really took the time. I mean, like, I may have like went out with someone on a date or so, but it wasn't anything serious.
Mhm,
So I think for 4 years, I just really worked on, okay, what is she about? Who is she?
mhm.
Really getting in touch with myself
I
and
love
what I liked and what I didn't like. Getting to know myself. I had to fall in love with myself because there were a lot of things I did not like about myself.
it.
There were things that I had in relationships tolerated that I had regretted. And
Mhm.
I was like working through all of my grief from that, just like things I
Yes.
just, how you go in these relationships, you do these certain things, and you don't feel good about them at the end of the day. And so I knew that in order for me to really have a good, solid, healthy relationship, I had to be healthy inside.
Mhm.
And so I worked on getting healthy, and it was just me and God, doing this thing together. And that was the relationship that was the best. And I truly believe that had I not spent the time to focus on that relationship first, I wouldn't have been in a place for John to,
Mhm.
call me his bride,
Wow.
because there was a lot of stuff. There was a lot of little, I would say, like, if you had a piece of wood, you get that wood and it's kind of chipped and shriveled.
Yes, ma'am.
A piece of wood with a lot of shrivel. And I definitely was not like, I ran things. No man ain't coming up in here. I had to shift a lot of different things, perspective.
Mhm.
Just really learning how to adjust to what a relationship should look like, because I
Yeah.
think I was very guarded and I was in the protection mode. I'm going to protect myself in relationships. So God really showed me that I didn't have to do all that, that he had my back,
Mhm.
that I could just focus on my relationship with him and just working on me, and
Mhm.
dealing with the areas of me that where I didn't feel whole.
Yes. I love that. And it's so true how when you were ready and you had done all of that work, then God brought the man for you. And before, you'd been dating a little bit and you'd been in all these relationships or situationships or whatever that we call them now, that weren't working for you, but there was that helped to break you down, even maybe.
Yeah.
And then when you spent the time to heal and grow, God said, okay, my daughter, here's your king. You're ready now.
Yeah.
Here came John with the lame line, but
He came, and you know what, Charlotte, right? When the Bible teaches, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. I love that God calls us a good thing, first of all. Um,
Mhm.
but I didn't have to go searching. And
Yes.
that's something I want to share with ladies. I was talking to a friend of mine today. We don't ever have to go search for a guy.
Yes.
We just have to be in the place, in the position, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically, for God to deliver. He wants to deliver. He wants to give. God
Yeah.
is a giver, right?
Yes.
And he wants to provide and meet all of our needs and all of our heart's desires. But sometimes we sabotage that. Sometimes
Yes, we
we
get in the way.
because we're like trying to go, like, or we have a resume of what he should be like.
Hmm.
And it's like, first of all, if you're not that resume, you
Right.
can actually expect anyone else to be that resume.
Exactly.
So that's the
Exactly.
part about working on yourself, so that you are ready, so that you go in there confidently in that relationship, and you let God woo you, instead of going, let me go cast my net,
Right.
find
Exactly.
find the guy.
Right. And it's not about how high your heels are, how short your skirt is, how low your blouse is. Like, it's not all of those things, especially when you are ready you're not going to present in that way. And listen, ladies, I'm not saying anything about you going out looking good. You should, absolutely.
Good.
I also didn't say that you should look like a troll from under the bridge. Not that William, but that was God humbling me a little bit, probably, or something. I don't know. But that day was the day that he gave me my king. But I was otherwise ready. In December, I had told someone, I'm getting married next year. And she was like, really, to who? And I was like, God hasn't shown him to me yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't looking. I stopped looking. And that's the key. You're absolutely right. So thank you for sharing that part. So John, so you
Yes,
proposed to this
I did.
beautiful woman. Now, what made you decide that this was the right time even to propose
Hmm.
and that sort of?
Wow, that's a really good question. I was about 29 years old at that point. So I had been through some relationships where things had not been so good. And I was the culprit in a lot of ways. So uh, I had done things wrong for, a number of occasions in situationships. And in this case, it was something that we agreed on. We did agree to build as best as we could with the knowledge that we had on a godly foundation, right? And I knew that if we're building like that, if we're building on a godly foundation, then we have a really good chance. It's the best chance in the universe for things to work out. And so, I was 29 years old, living in an apartment with a couple of guys. And I'm like, there's a better option for me here.
Yeah, yeah.
Let me, I found somebody that I'm in love with, and I want to go on that journey. And so that's what it was. I think we didn't do everything perfectly, and there's a lot of things that we've talked about recently, really, that if we could unwind the clock, right, we'd go back to our younger selves and talk about other things that we didn't talk about, didn't take the opportunity back in the day to talk about some stuff and do it over again. But I did know at that point, like, this is what I want to do. This is the person I want to be with, and we're doing it as we're trying to do it. At least we're trying to do it God's way.
Mm-hmm.
We can do marriage God's way too.
I love it. Now, what year did you all get married?
1997.
Yeah, and it was in April of 97.
Yes.
So that's why, because remember how many times we've tried to figure out how I missed your wedding and like all of that? Well, because we didn't do the math. I hadn't gotten here yet.
Oh, you weren't
I
you weren't in
wasn't
town.
I wasn't in town. I came in October. I
Yeah,
came
I
October
remember you telling me that.
23rd. Yes.
Yeah,
So, and y'all got married on April 12th.
April 12th.
All right, all right. So Sora Rond is here. She said good evening and well said, Chantel.
Thank you.
And guess who's in the house? Queen
Hello,
Tina Serrano says that's awesome, doing it God's way.
hello, beautiful.
Yes, yes. So for you boss talkers out there, if you remember, Dr. Nefertina and her lovely husband Richard were on to start off this series of February as Love Month. So thanks for tuning in, sis. So all right, so now you guys have decided to do this thing. You got married at the spaghetti factory. I remember that. I know that because everybody talked about that wedding. And so now you guys are married, and tell us about some of the beginning journey. What was that like in the beginning years?
You want me to go first?
You go first. Yes.
Okay. So John and I, we were a part of a really moving church, growing church, and we both were in leadership. And so we were out the waters, baptism leading, and then out of marriage. It was very, very quick. We were leading a group together and helping people become Christians. And so we were very radical, right? Very, very radical. And we really didn't have much time to think about marriage. Okay.
Oh,
So for 2 years, if that's about right, babe, 2 years, right? 2 years, we helped about 8 people know the Lord.
wow.
And we ended up creating, like, for young dating couples, we ended up housing them at our house and having weekly Saturday meetings to help them with their dating life so that they could get married like us. And so we were very involved. And I remember after 2 years having a real big serious argument with John, and we really did not know what to do with that because we really had never had that.
Wow.
We had never really had that. I mean, we had some things that kind of ruffled our feathers, but it was real quick and easy. But I remember, and I'm sure he could attest to this, I remember us getting into a really huge argument, and I remember going to the bathroom and literally locking him out and not talking. So what I did when I got really hurt, instead of retaliating, because I'm capable of retaliating really, really hugely, I said, I'm going to shut him out because he hurt my feelings and I do not want to have anything to do with him right now. So it was a very immature move. We really we were like, just did not know what to do with that. So of course we called some people to get in there and help us. We were good. We would make a call and we would get people to help us out because we knew that we needed it at that point. But those first couple of years were very radical, with just focus on building God's kingdom. And I think once we really had that, we were on a trajectory of like, okay, wow, we're going to have more of these. Like they might be bigger and they could get bigger and bigger. And, John and I were talking about this, like, because we were so zealous for doing God's work that we didn't really pay attention to what a marriage should be built on. We only had our vows. That's really all we had to work with, was our vows. Okay, I'm gonna be here to death do us part, for better, for worse. So maybe this is the worst right now, but we didn't really know what the worst looked like and what it meant and how to. So we had to get a lot of help.
Yeah,
a lot of help in our marriage, in those beginning stages, and really, I would say, to be honest, like just recently with the pandemic, there was a whole bunch of other stuff we discovered that we were like, and this is after like 23 years already, right?
So by yourself, I bet a whole lot of people made some discoveries. I know we did in our marriage as well. But here's the great news. You guys discovered and continued to fight through, because that divorce rate skyrocketed during that pandemic.
Yeah, it was huge. I mean, we even have friends that decided no more.
Yeah.
I would tell you this, that and we've talked about this on a conversation platform that I have, that we have the 4 C's, to commit, to compromise, to care, and communicate daily. Like, I would tell you, like, the 4 C's had to come into play during the pandemic for us. But after that first 2 years, even though we got those 4 C's on our wedding day, or like the wedding reception, the party, we didn't use them. we didn't use them. I was not about to communicate with him because I didn't like what, how I felt treated.
So where did the 4 C's come from? Tell us that.
John's mother. His mother gave us the 4 C's. Like, we had, that anniversary, that rehearsal dinner that you have before the wedding day.
I love it.
It was that then, and I didn't really know what that meant. I was like, okay, these are nice little words, right?
right. Now say the words again.
On my honeymoon. Thank you. We trying to go on the honeymoon.
We out, right? Now, who got married first, Sean? You or your baby sister, Naomi?
I did.
You did. Yeah. Okay. So, Dr. Nefertiti said, absolutely, the pandemic rocked some marriages, for sure. So, okay, so did she end up getting the 4 C's as well?
I don't know. That's a good question. I'd have to ask her.
Yeah,
I seem to recall hearing it from my grandmother, my mom's dad, years and years ago.
So
I
this is down through the Steinreich
I
family
think
generation.
yeah, I think yeah. If my mom got it, she probably got it from my grandmother.
Got it. Dr.
Yeah.
Neptuna says she must meet John's mom. Mama Ann, oh, she's a doll. She's a sweetheart. She's a true gem.
Uh,
So,
I wanted to, could I make a just an
yeah,
observation? So,
please.
Chantel was totally right. In those early days of our marriage, we were very, very busy. We were really full of ministry activities, and we were doing good for God. I believe we were doing good for God, but we were there's a lot of misplaced energy though. And I would like to think about the movie The Preacher's Wife. You remember the Whitney Houston and Courtney Vance in that
Oh,
movie?
yeah.
So he's the pastor who's all over town, right? He knows everybody and he's doing everything all the time, and his marriage is falling apart, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
in some, I mean, I'm not as sharp as he is, but that was, I think, a decent analog. It's like, yeah, we're really busy,
Hmm.
but we're not building our own foundation, and
Right.
things happen pretty quickly. Life just happened to us pretty much off the bat because and you don't even think about these kind of things, but we got married in April, and about a month and a half later we got a call that one of Chantel's her uncle's wife died very suddenly, and
Mm.
then about 6 or 8 months later her grandfather passed away. And then, maybe another year or so later, her uncle, who had lost his wife, was killed in an accident, a hit and run. So we
Wow.
have these, so we're traveling back and forth to Texas a lot for mourning and grieving and all of this stuff. And it just, when you're going through life, um, or you're going through marriage, you want it to look like Cinderella, right? Happily ever after, but
Sure,
that
sure.
they never showed the part after the wedding in Cinderella, right? That's it.
Right.
But
We
the
see
but
when
the
it
real
goes off
but
and
the real life actually starts to happen. And if you combine like just life like that of suffering and loss and difficulty, and I was going through a bad spot too professionally. I just was not really happy with what I was doing professionally, and that I was bringing a sour attitude home pretty much every day. So you take that, and then you take busyness, and then you take suffering and loss and things like that. You try to put that together and make sense of it. Oops, there goes my phone. Um, it's not that's not a good recipe.
yeah.
That's not a good recipe for success, especially if you haven't planned it out or thought it out.
Hmm. Well, you guys have pointed out some great, what's the word? Great truths about the early days of marriage. And I'm sure you're not alone in that, and particularly with Christian couples as well. And those who are maybe are not building God's kingdom are out doing things still that are not related to the couplehood.
Yeah.
And so how do you recover from that once you guys recognize, uh-oh, we are here, these are some things that we didn't anticipate, and maybe we're there but we didn't even notice because we were so busy running. So now on your plate are all these dishes, or these what is it, parts of a meal, courses that came with them, and you're like, I don't like that one, I don't like that one either. So now what?
So, you think about, I think for us, for me, I really, really had to dig into, like, when you're going to church a lot and you're building up God's kingdom, you could either get religious or righteous.
Come on
Okay.
now.
So, religion is like this. You have a lot of stuff in your head, a lot of scriptures. The Bible, boom, boom, boom. You can lay that stuff out, but you actually don't do it. You're
Hmm.
not really doing it. You can tell everybody what to do, but you're not really doing it.
Mm.
And so righteousness is doing the right things that God has called you to do. It's
Yeah.
learning how, following that whole trajectory of, like, I'm going to live this set apart life. I'm going to be made holy, because we have to be made holy, right? Sanctification. And
Yes,
so
yes,
I
girl.
think that there was a lot of religion in me,
Mm.
in the beginning, because remember, we were busy building up God's kingdom. We were
Right.
helping other people, but we were not helping ourselves. So we were doing a lot of the activities, of the kingdom, but the righteousness where we had to go and step into the position of like, oh, I got to actually do this scripture here. I got to do Philippians 2, look to others' interests rather than my own. I got to actually do this.
That part.
That's the part where we had to recover. Is
Mhm.
we had to allow the scriptures to feed our souls. We had
Yes.
to actually, if it said this, let's actually do this. Let's
Right.
not just talk about this, but let's actually do it. And I can tell you, for me, when I did start to make it have it be applicable to my life, that's when I start to see John a little bit differently,
Mhm.
right? That's the power of God's word, is that
Uh,
when you apply it for yourself, it actually works. It
How
really,
about
really
that?
does. And so I had to go, oh, I got to remove, because the kind of religion Jesus cares about anyway is caring for the orphans and widows. He don't care about all these scriptures that I know, or where I can find this.
Right.
He's not interested. Um,
Right.
he's
Do you
interested.
know all the books of the Bible? And
Yeah, he's interested in my heart and how I'm loving his son.
yes,
He's
indeed.
interested if I'm, you being quick to listen and slow to speak. He's interested if
Mhm.
I'm treating John, with kindness and care. That's what he's interested in. So I really had to shift and go, I need to actually not just talk about this stuff. I need to actually be this.
Be about it.
I
Right.
need to be all about it.
I love it. Yes. Well, Gigi's here, and Gigi says, great point. Marriage is never featured after the honeymoon is over. That is so true. Everybody has that. They show the beautiful wedding, the cake and the dress and the dancing. And even in Best Man, if you recall, they end with the electric slide. So they had to come back so we could see what was really going on, right? I love it.
Yeah, it wasn't
Cheryl.
all wine and roses.
That's right. That's right. Hey, Cheryl, thanks for tuning in, sis. She said religious or righteous. Yes, you struck a chord there, Shani. And Gigi also says God also teaches us that marriage will not be easy, but those who marry will face many troubles in this life. All right, 1 Corinthians 7:28. That is right. That
So
is
true.
all right. So the honeymoon is over. And y'all are really into some marriage stuff. So as you both started to gather some of the wisdom, right, that is needed to navigate the waters of a relationship and a righteous one and marriage and all of that. And I think, in the show notes, I talk about how we always hear somebody say, oh, you're the gift that, or she or he is the gift that keeps on giving. But when they say that, they're being very negative. They're being kind of sarcastic and nasty. And so I entitled the show Marriage, the dance of give and take. So how did you guys start to learn to apply that? Because coming out of singlehood, and you guys weren't babies getting married. Some of these kids are getting married in 1920s, and some of our parents did that. But you guys had some time getting to know and at least cater to yourselves. So how did you find the dance of give and take?
Took a long time. At least for me, it took a long time. I mean, we've been through, I don't know how many classes and retreats and, you know, Bible studies and all kinds of things. And we have sought a lot of help. But I think, honestly, I would say, I wish it hadn't come down to this, but the stress of the pandemic and the fact that I was working from home and we were just sort of in that little house pressure cooker, I believe that God used that situation to take, like a wine press, right? Or you're squeezing the juice. Take the orange and you're like, I'm getting the juice out. And after all those years of, trying, to sort of muscle our way through religiously, God said, you're going to be righteous now. And it's going to be a little painful because you're going to have to get gut level honest about things that have gone on in your life, in your mind, in your heart. At least for me, I'll speak for myself. And it's going to be sort of like ripping a Band-Aid off. It's going to hurt. Ripping the scab off, it's going to hurt. And that was really what I think ultimately did it. I think it's even then, I think we're a couple years now after the pressure cooker, and we're still working through it. We're
Yeah.
still we're still working through it, but it was necessary. Sometimes you have to the fire will melt away the dross and leave the gold. And I think
Yes.
that's where we are in the process. Is somewhere the dross is little by little being burned away.
I love that. That is a great analogy. So I know that you all got the 4 C's at your reception right before the electric slide. So so tell us what they are and give us a little bit of how each one works in the marriage.
You want me to go, babe?
Go ahead. Yeah.
So I would say probably, we've really learned what they actually mean. And I think John probably could explain it a little bit deeper because he's done all the research. But I will tell you this, um, the hardest one for me, because it's caring, commit, compromise, and communicate
Okay.
Mm,
daily. These are daily things to do, right? So I would say the hardest one for me to do was to communicate in a healthy way. Because I just say what I want to say. And so I had to learn how to just saying what you want to say. Sometimes it could be shrapnel to somebody else. And if I communicate in a way that's like shrapnel, then I'm not carrying.
mm.
So so another C is getting lost because I'm doing one of them incorrectly.
So
And
I want to put it in the chat. Caring, communication.
caring, communication, commit, and compromise daily. So I'd have to wake up daily and go, I'm committed to this man. I'd have to wake up daily and go, I will compromise today to be on the same page with him. I
Mm,
will commit today. I will communicate today from a place that benefits us both versus just saying whatever I want to say because I can say it. You know, I think that
mm.
relationships that operate like that, where they just say whatever they want to say because they can, with no care and commitment to the vows that you said I do with, or even if you're not married, if you're in a relationship, if you're not willing to communicate, care, commit and compromise, then you're probably going to have a hard time in a relationship
Mm.
because you're going to have to. I feel like for us, these are foundational
Yes.
because if I could commit to John and hold to my vows, my part,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, I'm not, I don't come in worried about what he's gonna do. That's not my responsibility. That's between him and God.
Come on.
I come in with my part, and I'm not, and it's another thing. I'm not doing 50-50. We're doing 100-100,
Mm.
right? Because
Right.
my best is 100. It's not 50-50. And so I really feel like these 4 C's during the pandemic for us actually reshaped our marriage. And actually, I feel like we're a little bit more mature. We actually, we don't go to bed angry. Like I felt like in those younger years, I could go to bed angry real quick. Like, I'm see you tomorrow. I'm not talking to you tonight. Tomorrow, maybe. But I realize now that that's like shrapnel, and
Mm.
that actually hurts the relationship, and it actually doesn't, and it's not biblical either.
That part.
So, as I said earlier, I had to really learn how to apply those biblical concepts. And there's not a lot of scriptures that has marriage this, marriage this. Only Paul talks about just a little, right?
Right.
But you got to use all the other stuff where it's talking to you and teaching you how to have community and relationship in general.
Right.
You
And
got to take that stuff.
yeah,
So
good.
these 4 C's have really helped me to be the best version of myself in this relationship and
Mhm.
with other people.
Right.
I don't just apply this with my husband, I have to try to do this with my daughters. I have to try to do this when I'm interacting with other people. It's like, okay, how can I communicate this well with this, me and this person, we gonna connect here, because
Right.
it's about the connection
That's it.
versus anything. And so I've had to do a lot of work to get to that place, though,
Mhm.
where that's my focus.
I love it. Well, because all of these principles feel good.
Yeah.
Even though they're difficult. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just trying to get this thing just so.
Oh,
But
girl, my lash fell off. So
see, we have some problems here. Look like I only have, I don't have a body at all. There we go. All right. But I think that, these are things that work well, as you said, in relationships, but so much of it is, oh goodness, what?
there you go. Oh,
Oh my goodness. It's just not trying to behave. Yeah, squeeze it, I guess. There. I think that's good.
there you go.
Yeah, ooh, there, nope. It's
Sometimes these cameras have their own life.
tripping.
They're like, look, I
I
want to
gotta
do this.
squeeze it here, I think. Like that. Like that. Okay, there we are. Ah, there I am. Okay. So we're talking about how, the scripture says, uh do not let the sun go down on your anger, right? And if you're practicing, because marriage is the foundation of so much, right? It's the foundation of your family, it's the foundation of your lives. But when you leave your house, if you've been practicing those basic principles and living by them, changes the way you show up in the world, right? Because you're less likely to fire off some shrapnel when your coworkers start acting real ridiculous. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Because they're in you, and it also helps that when you're at work and your coworkers throwing stupidness, and you don't respond with shrapnel, then you don't come home with shrapnel on your mind and
Yeah.
fire it off at your mate. And I
Mhm.
think that when you're creating that safe place to land at home, then you're able to leave all that ugly outside the door
Yeah.
too.
You
So
know,
I think
oh, go ahead.
I
What
was
do you
just saying, I think you guys are great examples of that. I watch you live your life. I don't know if you know it, but we do.
I know you watch. And it's actually not easy. And I love that, you're able to watch us and our other friends. And we don't ever try to come to the table like we're perfect, because I know the stuff that I've been through, John and the stuff that we've been through together. So we're never going to try to come in and go like, oh, we have this down. But if you'd have asked us in those early years of the marriage, we would have had that mask where, everything was perfect and glazy. And I think we've had to go through some stuff, and God has had to reveal some stuff to show us like, hey, you need me. And if you can be authentic with me, you're going to be able to do just fine. And it really doesn't matter what people think about you. What matters is how I see you and the work that you're doing in your life. And
Yeah.
so, it's been, so we try to be transparent with y'all all the time,
Yeah.
because we don't want you to, we don't want to play marriage.
Exactly.
I'm not here to play. And I do believe that is what has kept us together all these years, because we're not playing marriage, we're really living it.
Yes. Oh, yes. Absolutely. Yes. Cheryl says, leave all the ugly outside the door. Absolutely. I appreciate how you guys and just in hearing you start the story of how you guys came together and immediately were in the ministry and leading couples and all of that. I just want to commend you for so many years of doing that, because you are still doing that and doing it so well. And these two lead our community family group, and we just love them. It's to the point where we are like digging our heels in, we ain't going nowhere. So, but even in my marriage, you guys were instrumental helping William and I, as I know that John, you and the guys say that William was really helpful for you all as a men's group, and that warms my heart. But just to be able to do life with you two was such a joy and such a treat, and just love you guys so much, and I appreciate how you're so real and how you're committed because of your commitment to us and to those outside of your marriage and for those who may see you. And so just honor to you for your who you are-ness in that realm. Oh, a dear family friend. Alan Shea is in the house. He said, great example.
Hey,
Yes,
Alan.
we have to get Alan married so we can have our minister
Alan Shea. You
to,
know, Sean Ray, I wanted to, if I could chime in on the Four C's just a
please
little
do.
bit, and I want to talk to the guys out there because I suspect that guys have a little bit of the same kind of personality challenges with one of the C's that I do, and the C that I would say is probably biggest for me to work on is the caring. And I say that because Chantel has told me that what she really needs from me is to be present, and I didn't understand that for a long time. And then as the pandemic came along, and I started evaluating myself and getting help just to become a better person, I realized, man, my head is so full of stuff. I can't be present because I'm thinking about 25,000 things at once. And I'm also very business oriented. I'm very, task oriented, fix it. And I think, guys in general, I'm painting with a broad brush, but guys in general, we're like that. We can be very focused on, let me do this one thing and let me fix this and let me do my responsibilities and so on and so forth. And that should be enough. And we don't tap into some of the more vulnerable or sensitive places inside of ourselves. And I've been scared in a lot of ways to go to those, just gut level, honest places and tell her, this is what I'm thinking and feeling. Because I've just, I would rather smooth things over, or I'd rather just try to fix things, patch them up and whatnot. But that's not caring. That's not being present. So I would say, specifically to the guys, like you really do need to get into your heart and be open to revealing who you are, what you are, what you think, and being able to connect with the woman you love on a level without fixing, and on a level that actually trusts that if you show your true self, that it's actually going to bring you guys closer together.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate you for saying that, John, because it brings to mind something that I'm sure you're familiar with because we all experienced it together at Marriage for Dummies, and that is a tale of two brains. And when you were like you're thinking right here and compartmentalizing, it is painting with a broad stroke, but it definitely is real. And I have that with many of the couples and helping the women to understand that this is not a personal affront against you. This is the difference in how your brains work. It is so real. It is science, y'all. We don't know quite why God did it that way, but he did it that way. And actually I kind of get it because I always used to say, okay, whenever my husband William would make me so mad, and I'd be like, oh my God, he's so this and he's so that, and I would think, but imagine being married to yourself. Right? Because if I married someone exactly like me, oh my gosh, what a mess. And so he does that opposites attract thing. He does that because the way that you're in the male sense, your brain works actually in some ways complements the way that Shan's brain works in the female sense. Now there definitely is the C word that Mama Ann shared, the compromise word, because a little bit of compromise here and a little bit of compromise there makes it fit together just so perfectly well. And I love that you, as a man, took the time to take an inward look and see where it wasn't meshing well with your wife. Because in conversations that I've had, I know that Chantel has had to take an inward look sometimes too, as we do as women, to see where we're not meshing well with our husbands. And so what I run across a lot is the independent women syndrome. Because I know before I came out here, I was in New York, and one of the ministers said, if you had the opportunity to rip out a page in the Bible, what would it be? And I raised my hand. He said, Shawn Ray. And I said, wives, submit ye to your husbands. And he said, and Shawn Ray, you are still single, right? Touche, touche. Yes. But you got to read beyond. You got to read beyond the surface. Because he asked me, have you read the rest of that passage? I was getting stuck. I was getting stuck right there. And so there's a question too for all of you out there. How many times have you said you wanted to live your married life in a righteous way, but you get stuck at those scriptures that don't fit your will?
That's good.
Yeah, somebody better type that in the chat. Come on now. And so
that's good.
And I think about that. And so I think that, we have to read the rest of the passage to know what we're really supposed to do. And so you guys, in finding that space to compromise, you're paying attention. Men, women, we have to pay attention to our spouses. And that's not just being attentive, because that's important too, but pay attention to what you see. How does he or she move in the relationship, in the world? And so it's not biblical, but there's some real deal to the 5 love languages and that quiz.
Yeah.
Because, a lot of times people will be like, and then when they take it, they're like, because our tendency is to love people the way that we want to be loved. That's how we love others. But it's like, then you wonder why. Well, I got him this, or I said that to him or her. Why didn't it resonate with them? That's not how they feel love. So kudos to you, Mr. Steinreich, for paying attention.
Well, thank you.
Crafted those words together. Well, thank you to one of us. I'm not sure who that was to at the time. Thank you, Cheryl. Cheryl knows King Allen. Say hello to Cheryl in the chat, Alan.
Cheryl knows Alan.
Alan Shay.
Alan Shay. Gigi says righteousness in marriage means living the scriptures. Absolutely.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It is definitely that. So, John, one of them stuck out in my mind because, by the way, y'all, Chantel has an amazing podcast called The Nitty Grit. So, when's your next air date?
Friday.
This Friday. Tune in this Friday at 6:00.
Yes, it comes on
at 6:00. You can find it on Facebook, The Nitty Grit,
or either YouTube.
So get on there and be looking for that. But I remember when I watched, you guys did a whole series on marriage. And I remember the one that sticks out the most for me is compromise. And John,
yes,
can you share about what you learned about compromise? Because John is kind of a heady guy, y'all. He's real smart. And he likes to look things up and understand the root meaning. But the good news is that he's got us all kind of doing that now, because we do that in our Bible study, and Gigi does the same, and Shani, you do the same in your classes. So tell us about compromise, the root word, because I love that.
Making a promise with somebody. So compromise, I think in our everyday conversation nowadays, when we think of compromise, we think of like, I'm going to have to give up something, right? It's sort of negative. I've got to give up something, and I'm not feeling great about having to compromise. But really, the original sense of the word was thinking about two people or two parties saying, okay, this is my position, that's your position, whatnot. and we are going to find a way to make a promise that we're going to do it together. Right?
Mm.
So we are bringing things to the table. So it's really intended to be a positive thing. And so, um, because men and women are different, because every individual human being is different from the next person, the only way really to love is to find ways to promise together. Right? I can't always have things my way, exactly the way I want it, and I have to make a choice to move forward, right? And let me give, and let me find where, my wife will give back, and then we can move forward together because we're promising together. That's what the compromise is. We're promising together.
I
And I don't
love
think
it.
God didn't design us to be alone, number one. And because of that, He didn't design us to always get, you can't always get what you want. I don't see that anywhere in the Bible. It just doesn't say that.
Right, right.
There's a lot of direction on there to really think about and consider other people's interests. So, like, okay, if the Bible is all about looking at the well-being of others, then it's really implying very strongly that you have to be the kind of person that is willing to compromise, because you will have much better, healthier relationships if you do so, and you'll honor God in the process.
I love it. Thank you. And it's so true that we really do get the idea that when you compromise something, it's a bad thing, because we always talk about compromising our morals or
Yeah.
compromising my whatever it is. Think of something, Chan. What else do we talk about compromising?
Well, we think it's almost like I am not doing give I'm not allowing myself to be able to do everything that I'm supposed to be doing, or like something's going to suffer
I
if
That's the
I
word.
compromise here. And I'm not compromising my value system. You
Right,
know what I'm saying? I think that people they've looked at the word negatively, and it can be used either way, actually, to
right,
be honest, because sometimes when you do compromise your value system, where it leads you to live a life that's not healthy or not according to your values, so
right.
then you do have to go back to, like, okay, so what can I promise with myself in order to still live in my value system in
Hmm.
this particular situation?
Yes.
What's the promise I'm going to make to myself? And sometimes that's just simply like, if you said you were going to do something, follow through on what you said you're going to do,
Ex-
right? That's your promise to yourself. And I look at, with John and I in our relationship, I don't look at compromising that I'm losing my value system by compromising with him. I look at it as almost like, first of all, this is a partnership, and this is a give and take, because the title of your the subject tonight was the dance of give and take. The
Yes.
dance works well when there's compromise.
That's right. That's right.
If there's no compromise, somebody is off off beat.
Yeah,
The rhythm
somebody
is
trying to
off.
dance like Carlton, right?
Somebody got two left feet. But when you decided, so if you want a marriage where you are dancing together and the rhythm is together, there's a togetherness, you're gonna have to compromise to come. Almost the commitment is to come with. You're going to have to compromise to come with that person. You have to decide. And we all know common sense, like what shouldn't be. I'm not gonna, if John tell me, like, stop reading the Bible. I mean, we got common sense.
Right, right.
He goes to that place. It's like, oh, I love you, but I'm sorry. I'm talking to God, brother. I love you, but you're not taking me away from that. And so, like,
Exactly.
there's common sense and things, but I think at the end of the day, if you really think it through, you know what you need to compromise. You know what you need to make a promise with the other person. And it's like, for us, we're gonna promise to, like, if it's we made vows that says for better or for worse, then we're gonna be in this thing when it gets rough, and we're gonna be in this thing when it's great.
That's right.
That's the compromise. We're making a promise to each other to be there in those vows when
Mm,
it's good, when it's not so good. You know what I'm saying? So
absolutely.
I think that that's something that, that's what makes that is what makes John and I continue to dance.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Let's see who this is. Girls Like Me Global. Hello, welcome to Boss Talk. She says the dance works well when you are both compromising. You're actually able to dance better together when you're compromising. Phew, that's good. Absolutely. Thank you. That is so good. What Vanessa say? Hey, sis, let your nay be your nay and your yay be your yay. Follow through on what you say. Absolutely, sis. That's one of my BWN sisters. So listen, you guys have dropped some gems. I thank you for sharing your heart and your truth with us tonight. So I have one more. I know that you guys eventually added to the family, and you have two beautiful girls. So just talk just briefly on how the marriage changed when when they arrived.
Wow.
Just
what
briefly. I
did
know
what
we don't have
what
all
didn't
night.
change? What didn't change? I
Right.
mean, you know, again, this is something that I would advise people, to talk about a lot more in advance in your married life. Like, what are your values as parents? What are your values of, raising children? And it just, again, I think because of the speed of our lifestyle, cranking in ministry, and we were doing music, and we were just really busy, busy, busy. A child makes you stop, but if you don't, in stopping, if you don't really think it through, if you um, don't, decide on how you're going to raise the child, if you don't really think through that well, then you're going to set yourself up for a lot of stress. And
Right.
so, I mean, I don't know. I, Chantel can explain a little bit more, but I think that's what we did. We didn't plan enough for
We
it.
didn't. We didn't. That I think that was, like I remember I said after those first 2 years, that argument, after that first argument, after the first 2 years, more came,
Mhm.
talking about a family, like, and this is a whole nother show, but just to give you a little bit, it's that, I wasn't clear that John didn't want kids.
Oh, really?
No,
Okay.
so remember, we're building God's kingdom. We ain't talking much. We ain't only talking about like who you studying the Bible with tonight. How we gonna help this girl get saved? How,
Right.
like those are our conversations, right?
Wow.
And so, and and so I will tell anybody out there in relationships, these are things you need to talk about because it's very important. And I will tell you, I think too, because we were so busy building up God's kingdom, but we were also trying to be like righteous, but we were really religious, as I mentioned earlier.
Mhm.
John and I, and I'm proud of this, John and I didn't we were not together physically until we
Yes,
the
I
honeymoon, it
absolutely.
was like literally like there was nothing, no, we were just like we try to do everything like, okay, let's do everything the right way, right? And so we honored each other on
Mhm.
our honeymoon, but we were just like, we're not going to be getting involved in all that. We're going to keep it
Right.
pure. We're going to do it the way God says it. And I think because we had done everything right, we thought the way we were doing everything was right. We thought like, oh, let's not get involved in things. Let's not awaken love till so it desires. Let's not
Right.
all these things. Let's just be busy for God's church and his kingdom.
Wow.
And that's, I would tell you, that was one of the most immature, foolish mistakes we could have made by not talking about the non-negotiables.
Got it. Ooh, speak that non-negotiables, y'all. Talk about the non-negotiables. And sometimes those are not easy conversations and they don't feel good, so people try to avoid them.
They're not.
Yeah.
The non-negotiables is a part of your value system. Like it's a part of the desires and the visions that you have for yourself. Like I knew I always wanted to be a mom. I've known that for a long time, and that dream and that vision should have been communicated very clearly to John in the dating stages. And, you know,
Sure.
and him not wanting children, that should have been communicated in the dating stages, you know. And it's like, I mean, I'm sad to say, I just assumed like, oh, we're together, we love each other, it's happening, you know, at some point in time. But I will tell you, having once, and it took us 8 years, by the way, before we got the
8 years.
first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
8 years before we got our first Daphne. And I will tell you, these girls, I will tell you that they have really taught us what the 4Cs really mean. Like,
Mhm.
we have had to be on a journey with them as they're growing and developing, and they remind us all the time. Like my second one, Mel, she's the one who's always, she does not like fighting, she does not like arguing, that's just something she doesn't like. But Daphne has really taught us that religion only rocks relationships.
Wow.
She has taught us that, because it has rocked our relationship with her,
Mm,
because we were so religious.
yes,
Right?
indeed.
We were not looking for the connection for the 4Cs in the beginning stages. And then
Mm,
Melody comes with the tender heart. It's like, you know, the fighting, we don't actually have to do that. So they both remind us to live what does the Bible teach? Live that.
that
Don't
part.
add your own little stuff to it. So I'm grateful that they are here and that God blessed us with them. I'm grateful that John and I got to a place where we could agree to, like, we want to build a family. Like,
Yeah.
it means something to carry for our legacy to go on.
Mhm.
But I would say that I wouldn't want to do a family with any other person. Like, he is the one. So it took a long time for me to get over my wounds in those beginning stages, because I knew what I wanted right off.
Mhm.
We both have apologized to each other during those times, because, you know, by him not wanting that, there was a behavior that I had. You know, there was a way I treated
Yeah,
him because of that. You
yeah.
know, so
Like a punishment, because we can do that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I did. I definitely, I wasn't like I was intentionally doing it, but I definitely punished him.
right, right. Because our hearts do a lot of the speaking when they're wounded.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Oh, look who's here. Hello there, Miss Marlena Martin,
Marlena.
the founder and director of the Woman of Achievement pageant system
Yes,
in the
yes.
house. Welcome, my dear. Welcome.
Hey,
Your,
hey, hey.
your queen is doing well, huh? Marlena Martin founded a pageant called the Woman of Achievement pageant system. It's a wonderful system, and I'm so proud of her for what she's doing with it. There are 4 divisions, so she honors every beautiful woman from teens to the Miss, which is the traditional pageant age range, which is about, what is it, 19 to 28, but Miss America stops at 26. Well, Marlena says not in this system, because then there is the Ms. division, which is women up to 40, or is it 45?
It's Ms. and Mrs. 21 to 40, Ms. and Mrs. 41 and up.
And then there's Ms. Elite, because is Elite a different division? Because
It's Mrs. Elite.
right,
That's what I was crowned at.
right, Mrs. Elite
So there's
US.
Mrs. Elite, which is the 41 and up.
Yes, okay, and that's what I was crowned as Ms. Elite California in 2012, and my girl Chantel went and took it over, and blew the house down, and made us all very proud on January the 8th. So Marlena is saying 27 is where we start. Okay. 41 up is elite. Yes. And Dr. Nefertina says, I agree, Chantel, these conversations that must be had in the earlier stages of the dating. Yes.
Yep.
And she says, yes, she won. And Nefertina was crowned the ambassador queen on the same night, part of Marlena's system as well. So we's all beauty queens, y'all. And I think, oh wait, 60 and up is
Oh, is
elegant.
that a new one?
No, there was one when I did mine. I remember the beautiful woman that won that year. And 60 and up is elegant. Thank you very much.
I like that. I like that.
Marlene, I might have to call you about that, darling. Well, listen, y'all, I just really cannot tell you how much I appreciate you coming on here and keeping it nice and real tonight. And that system of I think it's a system that you all use to run your lives and your marriage and your family, and it's a beautiful system indeed. So I just want to thank you for sharing. I hope you all out there, all you boss talkers, are taking something away. I hope you had your notepads and your journals and your pens and markers and highlighters, because these two brought it. It was a master class, if you will. Now I want to share two things. I want to put up, John, you started a new thing here recently, the 5-minute ministry. And
Yes.
so your episode is up right now. And what
Yep,
is it
this
called
week's
again? Something about February. What is it?
Well, this month, the rest of this month, I'm doing a series called Faith-Filled February. So I'm taking themes related to February, and I'm doing messages, relating the Bible to that theme. And of course, one of the major themes of the month of February is Black History Month. So the message this week is the Bible and how it relates to Black History Month. And you'll get a little history lesson in there, as well as scripture. Little time, a lot of God, and asterisk, some history as well.
I love it. Thank you. And by the way, y'all, this is another aspect of this beautiful marriage that we did not talk about, but I don't know if y'all know this, because most folks think John is a light-skinned brother. But John is a Jewish man from New Jersey.
That's correct, yes. That is absolutely correct.
And John knows more about Black history than any Black person I know.
He does. He definitely knew way more than I did. I was learning from him. I'm like, okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, and we must do that. So thank you for that, John. So if you go, please, now I invite you, I recommend that you go check out John's 5-minute ministry episode on the Bible and Black History Month, and all the ones that came before that, because they are really great. And I'm so proud and appreciative of you dropping your knowledge in other places, because I and Gigi and the rest of us in the group get the privilege of learning from you weekly or monthly now, and me a little bit extra. But you all have that same opportunity. So please go to 5-minute ministry on YouTube and check him out.
Yep.
Now, Chantel, your podcast is called The Nitty Grit. And if you have a link, you can put it in the private chat, and I'll post it. But this Friday, Nitty Grit at 6 p.m. on YouTube and Facebook. Yes. And it's by the same name, The Nitty Grit. And you guys are going to be talking about marriage stuff as well, right?
Well, John and I did the first 2 episodes. And so I'm going to actually be doing the last 2. I think the last 2. And then March is going to be, I'm going to have a whole different thing happening there. So, but yeah, we already did the first 2 this week, last week and the week before. But this week I'll be introducing something that's a surprise that I can't share right now, but I'll share it with you on Friday. And an announcement on Friday.
Well, I'm going to call you and find out what it is. But I just want them to get a quick look. So I'm going to see if I can, there goes, hold it. So I'm going to see if I can just share
the page.
The page. Yeah, hold on. I'm going to share my screen here. Wait.
Thank you, darling.
There it is. Absolutely. Here we go. There it is. Can y'all see that now? Here we go. So this was from February 10th, but this is the page, and this is the Nitty Grit Love Unlimited. So you might need to go back and get schooled on some of those past episodes with Chantel Deniese, because my sister is amazing, and she's good good stuff all the time. So don't put that in your books and share and tell a friend. And I
Thank
probably
you
need to
for
turn
sharing that. Appreciate you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's see what the rest of the folks are saying, and then we're gonna close it out for the night. I know that Gigi says the 5 minute ministry is awesome. A plate of wisdom in 5 minutes. That's right. My friend Lou says Jersey in the building.
The building.
Yes, Lou is from Newark, New Jersey.
Did we lose him? Where baby at?
Oh, well, babe left. We lost him.
Lost him.
I kind of see his.
Okay.
There he is. Okay, there he's
There I
back.
am. Sorry.
All right. And Marlena says, yes, nitty grit. And our Gwendolyn is here. She said, you two are amazing humans. Larry and I are
Thank you.
delighted to share the earth and work in the kingdom with you. Absolutely.
Oh, I love you.
Amen. Thank you.
Our Gwen. And so I am sad to say that it's time to go, y'all. But listen, I know
glad we had this time
together just to have a laugh. Let's see. We have Girls Like Me Global said such an amazing episode. Sean LeRae, you always have the best guests. Thank you. Thank you. Because I know amazing people. I'm so
you have some great people on here.
Yes, I'm so grateful. And so, listen, I saw you slide into that chair, Chantel, and powder your nose. So I know you came straight in and jumped in front of the camera. And
that was the fastest I've ever. Daphne told me, she said, you should do that more often, Mom. Like, it was literally 5 minutes.
Oh, I know. I watched you, and I'm proud of you because I know what the usual thing looks like.
But I just came from the doctors,
Yes.
So rushing.
And well, John told me that you were going to be coming on in. And John, I appreciate you, my brother, so much for staying at work. But I think I need to let you go get home to your beautiful wife, two amazing girls. So, Boss Talkers, thank you so much for hanging with us again on a Wednesday night. We know that you could have been anywhere, and we are so grateful that you chose to spend the time with us. So, until next Wednesday, our last episode for this love month on marriage. I have another amazing couple coming to you. And so I will see you then. Tune in, please, on Wednesday at 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 7 o'clock Mountain Time, 8 o'clock Central Time, and 9 o'clock on the East Coast. It is your girl, Sean LeRae, with Boss Talk. And that is bold, one of a kind, sensational superstars. And that's you. Shalom, y'all. Good night.